Welcome back everybody to another episode of SmoothBrainEDH, where we make the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. We're all extremely excited for this new Baldur's Gate set, and because of that, we're here bringing some AFR commanders to the table. And this is a special Tiamat episode. You see, our friend down at Black Crown Miniatures custom painted us a Tiamat D&D figure, and we're giving it away to one of you guys. If you're interested in winning this, just check the description down below. There will be a link to enter our giveaway. You can enter multiple times by following us on our socials and subscribing to our channel. But anyways, let's talk about what decks everyone brought and their opening hands. Up first is Cody on the Dragon Queen herself, Tiamat. This deck should be pretty self-explanatory. It's a 5-color dragon tribal deck that could win by either beating face or even win through a World Gorger combo. He keeps an opening hand of Ancient Tomb, Arid Mesa, Windswept Heath, Marsh Flats, Gitaxian Probe, Terror of the Peaks, and Old Gnawbone. Up next is Logan on Minsc, Beloved Ranger. This Naya deck focuses on its commander's ability to pump up creatures to any size as long as you've got the mana. Logan will keep a starting hand of Snow Forest, Needleverge Pathway, Spectator Seating, Clifftop Retreat, Swords to Plowshares, Somberwald Sage, and Prophetic Flame Speaker. Next in turn order is Chandler on Old Gnawbone. This is a mono-green big mana deck. It plans on using ramp spells and Old Gnawbone's ability to power out some massive threats. Chandler will keep an opening hand of Fabled Passage, Misty Rainforest, Nykthos, Nature's Lore, Turn Timber Symbiosis, Tireless Provisioner, and a Beast Whisperer. And last but not least is Shelby on Targ Nar. This deck hopes to pump up its commander as much as possible to get one-shot kills, and it spices it up with a little bit of extra combat as well. Shelby will keep an opening hand of 2 forests, a mountain, Balaged Recovery, Guardian Project, Goreclaw, and Old Gnawbone. Wow, that's 3 of them. It's almost like it's a good card or something. But that's enough of the hands. If you're interested in any of the deck lists, be sure to check them out in the description below. And while you're down there, check out all our other links. We've got podcasts, live streams, you name it. We're also sponsored by Dragon Shield, so if you're looking to pick up any products to protect your purchases, click our affiliate link down below. But that's enough of that. Let's hop right into the game. Whoa, look at that. You can see the beautiful Tiamat at the center of the screen. Wow, anyways, Cody wins the die roll. He'll play a Windswept Heath and then pass to Logan, who will play a Clifftop Retreat and then pass to Chandler. Chandler will play his Fabled Passage and sacrifice it for a tapped forest and pass to Shelby while searching. Shelby will play his Balaged Sanctuary and then pass to Cody, who will fetch for a Plateau on Instep. Now in his turn, he'll play a Marsh Flats and then pass to Logan. A Spectator Seating will be played and then the turn will be passed. Now in Chandler's turn, he'll play a Nykthos, tap for 2, and cast a Nature's Lure, searching up a forest to the battlefield, and then passes to Shelby while searching. Cody decides to save some time and will fetch with his Marsh Flats for a Badlands. Now on Shelby's turn, he'll play a Mountain and then cast his commander, Targ Nar. The turn is then passed to Cody, who will play an Arid Mesa as land for turn. He'll fetch with it to find a Savannah and then taps for 3 to cast a Rhythm of the Wild. The turn is then passed to Logan, who will play his own Savannah, and then he'll play a Somberwald Sage and then pass the turn to Chandler. Chandler will start his turn by tapping for 3 and casting a Tireless Provisioner. He'll then play a Misty Rainforest, and when it enters he'll make a treasure token. He'll then fetch for a forest, making a second treasure token. He'll then just pass the turn. Shelby will play a basic forest as land for turn, move to combat and swing his commander at Logan, and then passes to Cody. Cody sees that Chandler will have a lot of mana next turn, so he decides to pay 2 life and Gitaxian Probe him. He's not the biggest fan of what Chandler has in hand, but he'll draw a card off it and then play an Ancient Tomb as land for turn. He'll then tap for 4 mana and cast a Guardian Project, taking 2 off his Ancient Tomb. Then we'll pass the turn to Logan, and Logan plays a Snow Forest as land for turn. After this, he'll tap for 3 to cast Minsc, and when Minsc enters, he gets a Boo token. He'll then cast his Prophetic Flame Speaker and then moves to combat, swinging his 1/1 Boo at Shelby. The turn will then be passed to Chandler, who plays a Verdant Catacombs as land for turn, getting him another treasure token, then fetches for yet another forest to get another treasure token. He'll then tap for 7 and cast Old Gnawbone. After this, he'll move to combat and swings for 3 as Shelby. When it connects, he'll make 3 more treasure tokens. The turn is now Shelby's, who plays a basic forest as land for turn. He'll then tap for 4 and cast his own Guardian Project. Then pass the turn to Cody, who will start off by tapping for 5 and casting a Terror of the Peaks. When it enters, he'll draw a card and has it enter with a +1/+1 counter. He also takes 2 to Ancient Tomb. Unfortunately though, he misses a land drop and passes the turn to Logan, who will start off with a Woodland Bastion as land for turn. He'll then tap for 4 mana to activate his commander's ability to make his Double Striker have 4 power and toughness. He'll then send it at Shelby and exile 2 cards off the top of his library. Unfortunately, he can't do anything, and one was his Finale of Devastation. He'll just pass the turn to Chandler after this. And Chandler starts off with a basic forest as land for turn, getting another treasure. He'll then tap for 4 to cast a Beast Whisperer, and then cast the Birds of Paradise to draw a card. He'll then cast a Circle of Dreams Druid to draw another card, and then activate Nykthos by sacrificing 2 treasures to float 9 mana. He'll then use 7 of it to cast Nyx Bloom Ancient, and he'll draw a card off Beast Whisper. After this, Chandler will move to combat, swinging Old Gnawbone in the air at Logan and Tireless Provisioner at Shelby. Before damage, Logan will attempt to Swords to Plowshares Old Gnawbone, but Chandler responds by sacrificing his treasure for 3 mana now and casts Heroic Intervention. The swords will fizzle because of Hexproof, and Shelby doesn't block, so moving to damage, Chandler will make 10 treasures. Now in his second main, just wanting to build to the board more, Chandler drops Turn Timber Symbiosis. He looks at the top 7 cards of his library and drops Eternal Witness. When it enters the battlefield, it'll get 3+1/+1 counters, and he'll put Turn Timber Symbiosis back to his hand. He sacrificed 3 treasures to cast this, so he should have 2 green mana left over. So he'll sacrifice 2 more treasures to recast it. Unfortunately, his deck isn't as kind this time, the only thing he finds is an Arbor Elf, but it will enter with 3+1/+1 counters. And with a lot of mana left but no gas left in his hand, Chandler will pass the turn to Shelby, who will start off with another Forest as land for turn. He'll then tap for 2 to cast an Arcane Signet, and then tap for 4 to cast Goreclaw, and he'll draw a card when it enters the battlefield. He'll then pass the turn to Cody, who will play a Snow Mountain as land for turn. He'll then drop a Ramos Dragon Engine by tapping for 6 mana and losing 2 life to his Ancient Tomb. He'll have it enter with a +1/+1 counter, and since it already enters with that counter, its power is 5, so Cody will direct 5 damage with Terror of the Peaks to Nyx Bloom Ancient. He also draws a card off Guardian Project. He'll then pass the turn to Logan, and Logan will start off by playing a Needle Verge Pathway, and then taps for 6 to cast Green Warden of Marasa, returning Swords to Plowshares to his hand. He'll then cast the swords on Gnawbone, gaining Chandler 7 life, and then passes the turn. Chandler starts his turn off with a Rex Sage, drawing a card and destroying Ramos when it enters. He'll then activate Nykthos to float a total of 11 green mana, then use 4 of it to cast his own Guardian Project. He'll then use 5 to cast Orin Frostfang, drawing the card when he casts it, and then 1 from when he enters the battlefield. He'll then tap his Circle of Dreams Druid for a total of 8 mana, bringing him to 10, and he'll use 4 of it to cast Questing Beast, drawing him 2 cards. He'll then use the last 6 of it and 3 treasures to cast Gnawbone, drawing him 2 cards yet again. And finally, he'll tap Birds of Paradise and sacrifice his last 2 treasures to cast Academy Manufactor, drawing him 2 cards again. Chandler will then finally move to combat and start by swinging Questing Beast at Cody, Eternal Witness and Arbor Elf at Logan, and Tireless Provisioner at Shelby. Moving on to blocks, Logan will block Eternal Witness with his Green Warden, and the Arbor Elf with his Boo. Cody blocks QB with his Terror, and Shelby will just take the damage. When damage goes through, several creatures die. Chandler will draw a card off Orin Frostfang, and he should make 3 treasures, 3 clues, and 3 food, but he completely forgets and only makes the treasures. And Logan picks up swords when Green Warden dies. Now at the end of combat, Logan decides to go ahead and recast Swords to Plowshares, this time on the Academy Manufactor, to make sure Chandler doesn't get any more value out of it. Chandler will then play Scavenger Grounds as land for turn, making a treasure, and then he'll pass the turn to Shelby, who will play a Rogue's Passage as land for turn. And then thinks for a while and decides, you know what, it's time for me to play my own Gnawbone, and that's exactly what he does. He accidentally taps for 2 more than he needs to since Goreclaw is out, but he'll realize that here in a second. It'll resolve and he'll draw a card off Guardian Project. He'll then move to combat and swings Goreclaw at Logan and his commander at Cody. Upon attacking, Goreclaw will buff herself, and then there will be no blocks, so Cody will take 2 and Logan will take 5, and Shelby will make 7 treasures. Cody then asks if Shelby actually has anything to do with this mana, and Shelby says next turn he'll be able to do a lot. And so, the turn is passed to Cody, who starts off with a Snow Swamp as land for turn, then taps for 7, taking 2 to his Ancient Tomb, and drops Beledros Witherbloom. He has it enter with a counter, and he'll draw a card off Guardian Project. After this, the turn will be passed to Logan, and he's just trying to find some sort of board wipe to deal with Chandler. So he asks Shelby if he can swing in with his Prophetic Flame Speaker, and Shelby lets it in. With each hit of the double strike, Logan will exile a card off the top of his library. Unfortunately, he really doesn't find anything important. He will play Sunpetal Grove as land for turn from exile, and then tap Somberwald Sage to cast Reclamation Sage to blow up Chandler's Guardian Project. Logan will then cast a Bloom Tender, and Cody realizes he should have a Pest. And with nothing left to do on his turn, Logan will pass the turn to Chandler. Cody will get a Pest on Chandler's upkeep, and the first thing Chandler does is activate Nykthos for 13 green mana. He'll then tap Circle of Dreams Druid to bring his total mana count up to 21. He'll then tap his last 4 lands and sacrifice his last 4 treasures to bring us to a total of 29 mana. And he will drop a Genesis Wave, where X is 26. It'll resolve, and he reveals the top 26 cards of his library and puts pretty much any permanent card from them onto the battlefield. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as I possibly can. The first card he puts in is a Natural Growth, then his own Goreclaw, Tireless Tracker, a Bonder's Enclave, Vivian Monster's Advocate, Tranquil Thicket, Castle Garenbrig, a good old Soul Ring, a forest, a scavenging ooze, Garrick's Uprising, a forest, another forest, an Ulvenwald Oddity, Galta, Blighted Woodland, Sakura Tribuilder, Battle Mammoth, and that is it. The rest of the cards go in his graveyard. But 18 hits out of 26 is really good, and there are a lot of ETB triggers since they all see each other. Chandler decides to resolve all the Garrick's Uprising triggers first. He'll draw 1 card off of it entering, and 5 off of it entering with a bunch of other creatures. 7 lands also entered the battlefield, so Chandler will get 7 clue tokens and 7 treasures. Now moving on, Chandler thinks he actually has the win here. He pays 7 mana to transform Ulvenwald Oddity, giving his entire team +1/+1, trample, and haste. And then he'll move to combat. Logan holds priority in his main phase though before he passes to combat, and Chaos warps away Ulvenwald Oddity, ensuring all these new creatures can't swing. And Chandler misses a Battle Mammoth trigger. So it'll get shuffled back into Chandler's library, and Logan will give him a cut, and then Chandler flips Kodama's Reach! So it'll stay on the top of his library. Now moving to the beginning of combat again, Unnatural Growth will trigger, and all of his creatures' power and toughness will double. He sends a 14 power Old Gnawbone at Logan, which is enough to kill him with commander damage, and then tries to decide if he wants to kill Cody or Shelby here. He ultimately decides to full swing at Shelby. His reasoning being that Shelby has way more mana available next turn than Cody, and also he did talk about doing some sort of shenanigans. And so everything else that can is turn sideways at Shelby. Unfortunately, after calculating damage, there's no way Shelby can block and get out of this. He will block Beast Whisperer on his way out to ensure Chandler has less card draw. Shelby then reveals that he had Morog in hand and a Kodama's Reach. This means he would have gotten 2 extra combat phases, and with a Rogue's Passage, could have easily killed Chandler with command damage if he pumped Targ Nar up enough. Oh yeah, and Chandler draws 6 cards off of Orin Frostfang. Then, with the help of Old Gnawbone, Chandler will make 36 treasures off this attack. He then discards almost a dozen cards and passes. Chandler totally forgot to activate his Vivian last turn, but on Cody's upkeep, he'll freecast a Force of Vigor, pitching Selvala to blow up his 2 enchantments. And Cody also gets another pest. Now in his main phase, Cody will play a Mana Confluence as land for turn. Then taps for 7 mana, losing 2 to Ancient Tomb, and cast the 3rd Old Gnawbone of this game. He'll then move to combat and swings for 5 in the air at Chandler, and when it connects, he'll make 5 treasure tokens. Now in his second main, Cody will float a mana, then pay 10 life to Beledros Witherbloom, untapping all of his lands. He'll then cast Tiamat, losing a life to his Mana Confluence, and he finds Bladewing, Cloth, World Gorger Dragon, Skithrix, and Scourge of Valkis to his hand. Cody will then pass the turn, and Chandler will cast Shared Summons on his end step. The 2 creatures he searches for and puts to his hand are Apex Devastator and Ulvenwald Oddity, which got shuffled back in earlier. Now moving to cleanup, Cody discards Ebon Death, Inferno of the Star Mounts, and a World Gorger Dragon, and Chandler will immediately activate Scavengers to get rid of that World Gorger Dragon. Now on Chandler's turn, Cody will get another pest. And on main phase, Chandler will activate Nykthos, floating 17 mana, and use 9 of it to cast Green Sun Zenith, X is equal to 8. We all know what he's getting here. Craterhoof, of course, and the best art as well. This will give everything 14/14, and then Unnatural Growth doubles them again. Chandler just turns everything sideways at Cody. But Cody has an Angel's Grace, meaning he can't go below 1 this turn, and he can't lose, and Chandler can't win. But the table points out a small problem. Old Gnawbone is a 42/42, flying trample death touch. Old Gnawbone will hit Cody for well over 21, and while it won't kill him this turn, the damage is still there, and the moment the Angel's Grace effect goes away, Cody will just lose. So, unfortunately, that is just the end of the game. Chandler and Old Gnawbone win the Tiamat Brawl. Well everyone, there you have it. As it turns out, Mono Green Big Stuff is actually a pretty good deck. In my eyes though, this really shows how powerful creature decks can be if no one's able to find a board wipe. I would say Logan was a very valuable player at this table because he's the only one that had any interaction to slow Chandler down. He even sacrificed himself to commander damage to ensure that not everyone was taken out in 1 turn. But let us know what you guys thought in the comments down below, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're interested in that Tiamat figure, we're sending it out to 1 lucky viewer. All you gotta do is click the link in the description to find out how to enter. As always you guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a smooth day.